got two thoughts. I got thoughts on the recent decision about starting QB, but I actually want to start with, believe my opinion and my mind has been changed about the best wide receiver in our wide receiver room.
Oh, let's hear it.
Okay, so the news about Malachi Nelson going to Boise State, not winning that job, for him to receive a 5-star composite high school rating makes me think that Makai Lemon may be the best wide receiver in our wide receiver room. For him to make Malachi look like a 5-star across the nation, across the board. And I've got a few friends out in California who were familiar with the high school comparisons at that time, and most people felt like I can't think of the guy's name who ended up going to Tennessee, but
Yamaleva?
felt like he was a better
Nico? Yeah. From Downey?
Nico. Yeah, Nico. Consensus was that Nico was the better of the two, but consensus was also that it was closer than what it seems like now. So I don't know, based on seeing that Malachi couldn't even win at the job at Boise State. And I think that Boise State starter is actually a decent quarterback. So it's nothing necessarily against Malachi, but it just, the stock went up for Makai Lemon, seeing as he was able to make his quarterback look so good. So those are some of my thoughts on the wide receiver room.
Well, I've been high on Malachi because, and I'm going to tell you why, that I think maybe you might be being a little harsh on Malachi, because I've told a story. There's probably some people that are here every week that are tired of hearing this story, but I watched, I'm a St. John Bosco alum, and so I go to all their games. There was a playoff game at Bosco, and it was Malachi. It was Los Alamitos Griffins, by the way, they're right down the street right here from me right now. And it was a total mismatch, but Lemon and Nelson kept them in the game for a while, and they were always spark on the team. And I will tell you this, it was both of them. Malachi was slinging the ball. He was throwing the ball. And I'll say this, remember, Lincoln Riley wanted Malachi Nelson really bad. Lincoln Riley knows quarterbacks. Malachi Nelson hurt his shoulder, and I can only assume, because I have zero information, that maybe all of this, his development, possibly even his mechanics, I don't know where it goes. But I have to think, sometimes an injury doesn't just heal, or doesn't heal right, or doesn't heal whatever the story is. But I can tell you, in high school, I saw Malachi Nelson play 3 games, and all 3 of those games he looked special. And the game I'm talking about against Bosco, that was one of the better defenses that we've had at St. John Bosco. And it wasn't just Lemon, and it wasn't just Nelson. It was the combination of both of them. They were hooking up. That's why I'm high. I've been high on Malachi Nelson. On Makai Lemon for a while now, because I do know that the guy, once, Taj was special. Well, now it's time for Lemon to show what he can do. And believe me, people are going to know his name. He's a great pick. If you want to pick somebody, that's what I'm saying about this receiver room. There are so many guys, including the guys like Jay Fair, stuff that we brought in. There's going to be some special receivers all over the place. And then you throw in Woody Marks. I'm just trying to figure out how people are going to cover this team. I really am. Matt, sorry, I went on for like 25 minutes. Any thoughts?
I'm really high on.
I completely agree. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, there's a lot that was said that I completely agree on, and it's funny. The Taj Washington comp is what I feel is most similar as far as what will, in purposes of visualizing what it'll look like out there. We've got some real talent out there. We've got big play threat guys. We've got speed guys. We got guys that can get behind the defense. So it could be anybody's day at any game. But yeah, Taj was the comp I have visually in my head for Makai.
I think
Yeah, I mean, I think they're similar. They're different receivers, but they are very, they kind of roll. They're gonna. I think he's going to fill that role. I mean, it's not a big stretch, right? It's not some original thought that he's going to probably be that third down guy, that guy that you just need something to happen. But I mean, who knows? There's, I don't know who that receiver is going to be. I think that Miller's worked with all these guys, right? They got lots of reps together. I think it's going to be interesting to see which guy actually takes over. We have all of our guesses, but just like the defensive line, just like the offensive line, the right side, just like the thoughts on cornerbacks, we're all going to find out pretty soon. But the good news is we're not complaining about not having choices. We're trying to figure out with all these weapons and all these players, who's going to rise to the top, which is a great problem, obviously, to have. So, Matt, you're popping up some.
Now the.
No. Go ahead and make your point. We're gonna move on. But you have another point?
Just quickly. Does going with Miller as QB1? There's a world where that feels a little bit like insurance, and that's based on what I've heard about camp and how Mayava came along. It feels like if we somehow end up 4-3 or 3-4 midseason, switch to Mayava, and go 4-1 to finish the season, that buys Lincoln a little bit more time, and he can sell that dream a little bit better. But based on my reports, it feels like Mayava was having quite the camp over the summer, and may have been closer than people realize on that QB1. Any thoughts or any opinions on how close you feel like Mayava is to QB1?
How do I say this? I think it was going to be very difficult for anyone to come in here and unseat Miller for a number of reasons, especially the fact his familiarity, but also just how he's worked with Riley, how Riley has spoken about him. And then the point you made about they drop a couple of games, they might turn to Mayava. Well, it depends on why they're losing. I mean, obviously, if there's an issue with Miller, which I don't foresee, but if there was and it was with Miller, sure, I'm sure Lincoln's ready to make that move. But I don't think we should even focus remotely on that. I mean, I think that Miller's going to do a great job at quarterback. That's not a concern of mine at all. What is nice to know is that if, like you talked about, Mayava had a great spring and played well in the fall, that there's a legitimate fallback plan if, God forbid, something were to happen to Miller and he missed a half or a couple of games, that you have a capable backup to move in there. But I think Mayava is going to be really good, but I think he's going to need a little more time.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. Those are my thoughts. Was Vandegrift really the first option for Lincoln over Caleb whenever he was at Oklahoma? I saw that going around on Twitter this week about Lincoln's QB choices, and that didn't sound right, so I didn't know if anybody.
I'll pass that to Matt. I mean, I know what you're talking about, but I wasn't really following Oklahoma that closely back then.
I mean, Vandegrift was on the radar, but I don't know the exact hierarchy, the exact order of preference. But it is fascinating that Oklahoma.
That was just a weird one I saw. I'm like,
what, Matt?
It is fascinating that Oklahoma and USC are both going into this season with unproven quarterbacks that have high ceilings and that the fan bases are really excited about, but like they don't have a lot of scalps on the wall, and they both have to go out and prove it with Jackson Arnold and Miller Moss. It's going to be definitely a source of constant conversation, that's for sure.